cool. Another happiness video. This time, why do Muslim women have to cover up? And so, what's it got to do with happiness? My short intro is psychologists have shown modesty makes you happier. That's the short version, but let me go through the 3 points. First of all, anxiety. Okay, modest religious women. So, when I say religious, I'm just talking about Jewish, Christian, Muslim, whatever women, and there's actually a lot of religions where they cover up with the headscarf and stuff, right? Okay, like people don't know because in the West, Christians don't follow any rules, right? Okay, but if you go to an Orthodox Christian who's like in Ethiopia, like I saw in the speaker's corners, like she's covered up, she looked like a Muslim, and like, oh, are you a Muslim? Like, no, I'm Christian. Like, oh yeah, I forgot Orthodox Christians do that as well, right? Okay, so if you are a modest religious woman, you're going to have less body image issues. Oh, what a surprise! Like if you use your common sense, it's really obvious. But people who don't want to understand, they find that like mind blowing. Of course, like what it is. Women compete, right? Women compete with looks. This because that's how they're measured. That's what psychologists tell us. That's how they're measured. We're measured on status by our jobs and money we can make. Women are measured by biology. That's just how it is, right? And this is ingrained in them, so they compete in looks, right? By nature, right? So if you have a whole society that has shut that thing down, I'm getting a bit of feedback, but I'll talk less loudly or something. I don't know what's happening. Um, then what happens? And then so it's not just shut that down. It's kind of like this is not the most important thing, right? Then they focus on what do they focus on? Instead of focusing on the outer, which is so shallow, okay, and you see loads of people who are really shallow, people who hardly wear anything, that becomes everything for them when they hardly wear anything. But on the opposite side is when you cover up, it's all about spirituality, it's all about family. If you start working inwards, and then you just become so much happier, you become less anxious, right? Why do you become less anxious? Because all these things, if you have a freckle or something, you know what I mean? Like nowadays, you can't even have anything wrong with you, according to the silly adverts, right? Women's adverts. Um, so you're going to be anxious. I would hate to be in that situation, to be worrying about how, like, I'm so, like, I don't know, what's the word? I'm not fit, mate. But I'm not worried. Do you know what I mean? Like, actually, I'm a man, so it's a different thing, right? But actually, by the way, Muslims are supposed to wear loose clothing as well, right? But it can easily happen to men. Like, if you're wearing skin tight clothes all the time, your body has to be perfect, blah blah blah. I feel sorry for women who have to worry about that stuff. So anyway, in short, it helps with anxiety, and I'll just go to the verse of the Holy Quran. Um, the best garment you can wear is righteousness, right? So it's like you got the physical garment, which makes you righteous, and then that makes you just a whole better, happier person. Any thoughts?
I think so. Here's what I think. I think the human body is beautiful, right? And there's no point of denying that. Everyone knows that. Now, if a woman wants to show her body, like say on the beach, and I want to do the same, that's great. A society with strong people would know not to become a predator there. And the thing is, our skin is made to for the sun to get vitamin D. And so we actually are meant to have less clothes on just for our own survival and our own health. Our ancestors, they were always working in the sun and getting the vitamin D. Now we have a vitamin D crisis. And we know in the UK, Islamic women have the biggest crisis of this because they barely see any sun, right? And so the technological way of solving this issue is, oh, give you pills. I'm an anti-pill person. I think we should get everything we need from nature. God gave us the sun and gave us our skin, and that's where we should be getting our vitamin from. I agree with you that you're going to reduce the pressure on females if they don't have to put on fake makeup and all this stuff and pretend they're something they're not. However, and I'm like this with my wife, I tell her, don't put on makeup. I like you. I chose you for your natural beauty. I didn't choose you because you gave me an image that was not real. And so, yes, it is a protection, and I can see nothing wrong with any woman that wants to be modest. But at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with a woman who just wants to free her skin into the sunshine.
Okay, so again, as always, great points you've made, right? So I'll go with the sunshine thing first of all. So it's a misunderstanding. It's a lie, I would say. I've done a bit of research on this. Basically, all you need is your hands and your face uncovered with 20 minutes. That's my research. If you get sunlight that has to be about 45 degrees, the reason is that if it goes through any material, you don't get the vitamin D from the sunlight. If it hits a tree or whatever, or goes through a window, yeah, can't be indoors, by the way. Just getting there. You have to actually go outside, right? Then you're good. So it's wrong to say that you need, if you're a Muslim woman or man, because I cover up. I'm not going out with my chest out and stuff like that, right? It's wrong to say that you don't get enough vitamin D. That's my research. And I totally agree about not eating pills. I really hate the idea of pills. I don't anything big from big pharma. I don't trust anyway, right? Um, and then you made another point about your wife not wearing makeup, and then my point about that is that I can't remember the laws in Christianity, but in Islam it's like really clear. It's like don't do this, like don't do any fake embellishments. It's called, right? Even sounds like you're walking and making ching ching like to get noticed and stuff. That's not allowed, right? But I'm not sure if you get that in Christianity. That's the problem. I'm not, but I think there are some great things in Christianity. Cover your hair and. Paul said, "Shave your hair off," but he wasn't recommending it. He was kind of like saying, like, when I say Paul, not some mate Paul, Saint Paul, right? But I kind of don't like saying Saint Paul because I don't think he was much of a saint. But anyway, for ruining Christianity. But anyway, yeah. So I think clear laws that Islam has, that's really powerful. The sexuality thing, I'm gonna come into next, but I want you to have the last say about the makeup thing and the vitamin D thing or whatever you want to say about that. Yeah.
Well, with the vitamin, I mean, you're saying just 20 minutes in the sun, face and hands is enough. Fair enough if that's true. But that still doesn't explain why Islamic women in the UK have the highest rate of vitamin D deficiency. So
Oh,
I
okay.
think
I
we
don't
have.
think that's. I'm not sure if that's true, but maybe you're right.
I do some research. I remember reading up on it.
Okay.
Um, and more is better than less, to be honest. So maybe it will be enough to just have your hands and face. If you have your whole arm out and your body, then fine. And look, I live in Lebanon where it's got this mismatch where you've got those, the women who do go for the burqa, and then you go to the beach and you see women in bikinis, running around in the sun. And I think that's the best type of society. I think Lebanon, we have a lot of corruption that needs to be removed. But what's beautiful about it is it caters for all religions. So if you're from an Islamic religion, they cater for your. That's why on your ID, your religion is put on your ID to know what rules apply to you,
Hmm.
which I think is great. I think, do you know what? Like, if I'm a Christian and I want to follow Christian values and rules, here one rule for you, one rule for the Muslims, and let's just integrate and love each other, love our differences, but know that we are all under the banner of God, regardless of how we choose to live. And that I think is a beautiful society, unlike the societies we live in the West, which pretend they're Christian but are actually atheists.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not to go too much in. I mean, I love comparing Jordan and its neighboring countries like Lebanon. Isn't Lebanon becoming increasingly atheist? Just wondering, is that right? Because that's what its reputation is, so free that it's kind of not religious anymore.
No, no, I would disagree with that.
Yeah.
Church going isn't like high, but generally most people you ask, they believe in God.
Right, yeah. So in Jordan, I think they've got a nice balance. They've got lots of Christians as well. You can choose, and they've got all these different versions of, like, there's the non-hijabi Muslims as well, which is really common. Like, I'm not recommending it, but I get what you're saying about like having the spectrum, so you got the choice to do what you think is right. I like that. I think you're making the choice is better than having the choice forced on you. Um, to that some extent. It's good to have some basic laws though, about modesty and behavior. But anyway, the next point that you mentioned that I didn't really get back on, which is the beauty of the human body, right? And so the next point really I want to make is connection. So I would say sexuality is like electricity, right? What do I mean by that? It's like when you have electric wire, what do? You cover it up, right? But you don't block it off. You cover it up. So what do you cover it up from? All from it going everywhere, ruining everything. I think you're kind of getting the idea, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So it protects. It's insulate. But again, there's a whole package in Islam, right? Islam is amazing at getting people married because it has that community. It says no sex outside marriage. Is really strict. So the insulation is not just wearing clothes and blocking the beauty of the human body. It's giving it an outlet in marriage where it gets is part of the connection. It's not the only connection, but it's a very important part of the connection between man and women, right? So sexuality, electricity, in if it's insulated in marriage, it connects. Otherwise, it destroys. Okay, and just quote of the Holy Quran, they are, when it's talking about man and wife, they are a garment for you. When it says garment, the words in Arabic are always much better, really far more meaningful and powerful. One of them is sort of meaning and beauty and protection, right? That's the word kind of insinuated, whatever, by this word loosely translated as garment in this translation. They are a garment for you and you're a garment for them. They are a protection for you and you're a protection for them. They are a beautifying ways by directing your connection with the other, the other sex, as it were, etc. So anyway, those are my thoughts about that. So you go on.
I think Islamic viewpoint, and this is a lot of things in Islam is like this. It's hide the temptation. I say control the temptation. Instead of having to hide the temptation of the beautiful female body, we should teach men to control themselves and not be led astray by the beautiful human body.
All right, so maybe I'm going to say this kind of thing. This is a very Andrew Tate thing to say, right? You don't leave your keys in the Porsche or Lamborghini, right? All right, so basically you don't just
I don't agree with that analogy. I would say the analogy is don't put a cover over your Porsche. You have to always cover your Porsche so the thief doesn't come and see how beautiful it is and steal it. So
anyway, so but it's like, to continue our point a little bit more, it's like you think porn is good, you just sit in front of porn and have porn all over, like
it's fake. Porn is fake. I don't agree with porn.
My point is, like, I don't even like. I used to. Okay, let me give a bit more perspective because I don't like to say I'm some sort of angel at all. It's the opposite. I want to say, like, I'm so flawed, yet Islam helps me, right? So I used to be like, oh, I'm a Westerner. I can look at this whatever kissing on the Hollywood movie, whatever. I'm not watching anything particularly, whatever, right? And now I've come to the conclusion that I get affected psychologically when I'm looking at these things without realizing. And so I protect myself from these things that ruin your relationship. Pornography ruins your relationship. And if you think about it a little bit, you go, oh, what I'm doing subconsciously is I'm kind of saying, oh, that person, even though I'm like pretending like, oh, this is all fake, whatever. Nobody knows it's acting and fake. Nobody thinks it's real. Maybe a few people do, right? But the point is, like, you're looking at this person and you're thinking, oh, you're subconsciously saying, I wish her butt was like my wife's. And then you look at somebody else's nose or something. Oh, I wish her nose was like. And then you collect this unreal person and you're comparing it against your wife. And then no wonder you're getting erectile, whatever, dysfunction, whatever. You just can't, you're just not interested in it anymore. It just messes you up. And from my heart, I say, listen to Islam. It protects you. It's so wise. Don't put temptation in front of you. If you want to be like, if you want to stop being on alcohol, you don't surround yourself with alcohol. Anyway, your thought. You have the last say on this.
I think we agree. I think porn is definitely harmful. Um, and not
But
just
no,
porn.
but you said you should
Anything
have.
that's
You
fake,
said people
anything
should
that's
have
fake.
be able to walk around naked and stuff.
I think my honest opinion is I think it should be equal for men and women, and so I think a woman should be able to have her breasts out, but the sexual organ. So for a man, the penis; the woman, the vagina. I think those need to be covered. We need to have a line somewhere, and those were created by God to for reproduction. And it's quite obviously if everyone was walking around with their reproductive organs, too many people would get excited and it would just become a very weird situation for everyone. So that's my view on
It
that.
would be weird. Everybody walking around naked. Anyway, um,
Total degeneracy.
okay. Yeah, come on, don't preach degeneracy, my friend, please. We've got enough of it. All right, okay. Purpose. The last point I want to make about why do Muslim women cover up, right? I would say restriction creates direction. Yeah, what do I mean by that? Like you restrict your clothes, and I've kind of mentioned it already in some ways with the wire thing. You restrict in one way and it goes out the right way rather than all
Yeah.
ways. Yeah. So you restrict clothes, and then what do you focus on instead? Family and the future, right? And you know this is true. I've loved it in. I tell you what. I tell you what. I lived in Jordan for a few years. When I came back to England, I didn't come back to England for holiday for a few years, and I literally thought, like like when women and even men going around with their leotard, whatever, skin tight stuff when they jog, I like, oh my god, it's everybody turned into an animal since I came back, because I'd not been exposed. It looks disgusting. Like you can literally see people's butts and everything, and they're like dressed up. No, you're not dressed up. You're not wearing anything. And it looks you look like an animal when you come back from a modest country where and people are, and I tell you what, this is really important. I think you get this right. Being an Arab, like the way people Arabs communicate is so much more loving, right? Like I remember I was in a school, just standing talking to a teacher, and there's a girl who's just talking to us, right? And I've had this more than one time, right? They will say things like "I love you," and like, well, I was a bit. The first time I heard that, and the other teacher was like, just carried on like nothing happened. Then I realized what it means. They're just more expressive,
Yeah, we're
right?
more passionate. I find the
But what
British
I
are
mean to
very
say is,
cold.
just before, yes, they're more passionate. Those are just cool, right? But it's because they're more free, because they're more secure, because there's a direction. It's not society becomes when it becomes less sexualized, it becomes everything else. Everybody's a brother and sister. Like you can correct me, but like even in the Arabic language, every a human being is Bani Adam, like children of Adam. We're part of the same family. Uh, like you're a lady or girl is Benat, which means my daughter as well, right? It's become
Yeah,
part of the language. It's
Binti
beautiful.
Benet. Yeah,
It's so beautiful, right? Um, so my point is, again, it comes from this: the garment of righteousness is the best. It's like you have righteousness and you can have everything else. It's kind of, and that clothing is just an act of part of that righteousness. A lot of, and I should say it because you said the thing about, and I didn't refer to this, and I'm glad you put this out. Men and women should, and men in the Quran referred to first in terms of behaving, like they're told to look down or guard their eyes, do you know what I mean, as well as wearing loose clothing and everything, and then women are told, because men are the biggest culprits of this thing. Like who watches pornography most, right? Men, right? So
yeah,
anyway, those are my thoughts. And again, just to kind of home drive this thing a bit more, because it's so important, right? This is not an academic discussion. I want a beautiful world. I've seen beautiful world, where people are not sexualized, and then they're more connected. Okay, they're more family orientated. They're more thinking about their future. What are Muslims doing? They're already running most of England. They're all the doctors, whatever, because they're focused. Let's try a chaotic mind, everything going wrong. I talk too much. Go for it. What do you think?
No, I was just going to mention, it reminded me something. This modesty thing, it exists with Christian women as well. So my wife, she would refuse to take a photo with my cousin because she says, I don't like how slutty she dresses because her shorts are too short and her, what do you call. So this, it's just where you draw the line. Like Islam's line is very like nothing, like can't show any skin. And then Christianity is like, no, you can show some skin, but don't go over the top. Everyone's got their own line. I think I would be on with Jesus here to say, don't judge unless you've got, no sin on you. Don't be the one to judge on someone's clothing unless you're without sin, which we all know everyone's with the sin. So we shouldn't be the ones deciding what is, too much or too little. Is the hand enough? Is just hand and face? What about the arm? I'd say let's just cover up the sexual organ. Everything else is a matter of taste, and let people, have their own modesty, how they feel, what they feel is right for them.
Okay,
But
I
don't
love
judge
Jesus.
others.
I love Jesus, right? Okay, and the thing you said, you can quote it better than me. I kind of had the picture of it. I kind of don't memorize words. I kind of have pictures of memories. It goes something like, "Let the one who is free of sin cast the first stone."
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Something like that. What he's saying is like, he basically don't judge, right?
yeah,
Okay, because like, and this is a really important teaching. Like, I don't judge, right? And this is not about judging. It's just about doing rules. Like when you pick up a self-help book, that self-help book is not really judging you; it's trying to help you. So these are like rules that can help you. But if, let's say, you're wearing less clothes, I'm not here to judge you or say, "Hey, I'm better than you." I don't need to because if you know me, I don't care what you think. Yeah, I just care about you, but I don't care about. When I say I don't care what you think, I have to clarify that. I don't care what people think of me because I just don't care. It's just you're not important enough. Nobody's important enough. I've got a mental issue, maybe that part of that. Like I really don't care, right? And I don't care about views. I don't care about whatever, right? I just want to make a difference because I know how the human mind works. And if you want to be happy, you've got to make a difference. That's actually what psychologists say. But I'm not on a sidetrack on that. And then you made an interesting point about Christianity. My second point about how I love Jesus, right? Listen to Jesus. Do what Jesus did. Look at Jesus' mum. Headscarf. Right? Okay? There were rules. Jesus was all about the law. Okay? And then, kind of, third point, because you reminded me about Jordan, right? Unfortunately, what's happening in Jordan about the Christians is they try to distinguish themselves by wearing less clothes. Like, because their names are the same. But you're George, right? But over there, Christian is Zayn, no Ziad, and like they're like Tariq. They've got all the Muslim names, so you don't even know the difference, right?
yeah.
So how do they distinguish them? One, a massive cross usually, right? Okay, that's even the older people, to be honest, right? Okay, but less clothes as well. Um, Anyway, I think you need rules to be clear about the rules. It helps. Rules help. Like you don't want an empty self-help guide. But you have the last say on that.
No, I agree. I agree with you. It's just where we draw the lines, and I think the way it works now is the best. Like let the Christians draw the line where they think is right. Let the Muslims draw the line where they think is right. And deep down, I don't think God cares. He can see through our clothes regardless.
Yeah, I just wish everybody the best, man, because I think there's a sort of the discussion, but then there's the results. What I mean by the results, look at the Muslims. All the like Christianity is dying out because of the lack of rules. Because you need rules in a
There's
family.
still more Christians than Muslims, though, if we're talking numbers.
Oh yeah, at the
And
moment.
we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Once we reform Christianity, maybe
I'm a
some.
statistician, my friend. I see a line. I only see a line.
Does that line factor in the George effect of changing Christianity?
The George effect. Yeah, you're quite hope. George thinks he's going to change the world. I think I'm just a pawn trying to make a small difference. We'll
I
see.
hope to make a ripple.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to end this recording. It was awesome. You gave so much cool info, man. That was awesome. So stop this recording. Let me click on the